My partner and I are due to get married soon. My brother David has always been viewed as the favorite in my family, and so is his wife Jill. I, on the other hand, am always viewed as the problem in my mother's eyes. A few years ago, we celebrated my stepbrother's wedding with our family. David, Jill, my fiance, and I stayed in an apartment and had breakfast together the next morning, and all was seemingly great. That was until later that afternoon when I received a call from my mom saying Jill was at her house in tears because I insulted her appearance at the wedding. I have zero recollection of this, but my fiance was with me the whole night and was adamant that I did not say anything. God plus Jill showed no signs of being upset or annoyed with me at any point. I was disappointed that my mom did not ask me and jumped to conclusions that I was in the wrong. I apologized to Jill and that was seemingly the end of it. Our relationship with Dave and Jill has been icy since then, and Jill has made no effort to engage with my fiance on our upcoming wedding at family events. At Christmas, when we were visiting my mom and stepdad, Dave and Jill both arrived and announced that they are expecting a baby first grandkid in the family, and it's due on our wedding day. After a few drinks, my stepdad made a remark that our big day is now about Dave, and Jill asked while I spoke to my mom about this, and she assured me that this wouldn't be the case and that they would be celebrating us. My stepdad disagreed again. Our wedding day is really important to us and our friendships. We have a 2-day wedding. The first day is a ceremony and a meal in an upmarket restaurant for 30 of our closest friends and immediate family. The next day is a party for all our other friends and extended family. David and Jill are invited to both days, but given the long day and that she's due to give birth on the day, we did not have the space to accommodate Jill for the evening meal. She also said she didn't want to go originally as she doesn't like that kind of food, but has changed her stance since on wanting to attend. My mom has now demanded that we invite Jill to the meal and has been pretty aggressive towards me and my fiance. We have stated that we don't have the space my fiance's close friends and stepmom aren't going, and that we don't think it's suitable. The ceremony at the meal is very intimate, and we only want our closest friends there. My mom has now said that they need to be there for Jill in case she goes into labor, and so she needs to be at the venue. I should point out that Jill also has family, albeit they are a 1-hour flight away, and not all of our family are going to the meal. We are paying for the wedding ourselves too. I just feel like this should be a day to celebrate me and my to-be wife, but my family have made it clear that they want it to be about Jill, who has made it clear she doesn't even like us. So please help, Ada. Thanks. AD for ending my friendship with my best friend. After she avoided me at her destination wedding and then blamed me for it, TLDR, I flew to Europe for my best friend's wedding despite mixed responses on Ada about whether I would be the asshole if I didn't attend. She ignored my texts, was distant the entire time, and sat me as far away as possible from her at the reception. When I brought it up weeks later, she yelled, "Gaslit me," and refused to take accountability, so I ended the friendship. My best friend of 5 years, Sam, had a destination wedding. I wasn't going to attend due to cost and some hesitation about traveling alone, but I made it work and brought a newish friend, Ashley, as my plus one, something I confirmed with Sam months in advance. Ashley and I arrived in Europe 4 days before Sam. During that time, I texted and called her, but she never responded, despite being active in a group chat with other guests. It felt like she was deliberately ignoring me. At the venue, she was distant, but I assumed it was wedding stress. Despite sensing this, I tried my best to be present and around for anything she needed. Mind you, there was no designated maid of honor, except for her 14-year-old daughter. So, as her best friend, I took it upon myself to try and fill that role as much as possible where it was needed. On the wedding day, I did her makeup, something she had asked me to months before, despite not being a makeup artist and feeling hesitant. I repeatedly asked if she was sure, but she insisted. After I was done doing hers, she last minute also asked me to do her mom's, mother-in-law's, and aunt's makeup, which I, of course, did. I watched her take photos, teared up at her wedding, and felt genuinely happy for her. At the reception, a long table was set up, split between her and her husband's family. When I found our seats, I realized we had been placed at the farthest end across from the one person in the groom's family that no one liked. Sam came over, laughed, and said these seats were deliberate before walking away. It was confusing and hurtful. I had planned her bridal shower, talked to her almost every day, and she always referred to me as her best friend, but I left the wedding feeling like anything but. As Ashley and I were leaving, we went to say goodbye to Sam, her family, and the groom's family. I said something along the lines of, "I am so happy my best friend is married to the man of her dreams," and she made a comment to the table that she realizes now that many of her guests consider her their best friend. I found it off-putting and very telling. For weeks afterwards, Exam kept sending me BFF memes and GIFs, which was unusual. Eventually, she sensed my distance and asked if I was mad. I told her I wasn't mad, just sad, that I didn't feel like her best friend at her wedding. She cried, said she never meant to hurt me, and blamed wedding stress. A few hours later, she texted saying she felt unsupported and hurt by me, then canceled our plans to see each other. I was like 12 letters. I apologized, unaware she was upset given all the gifts and memes she sent me. She then accused Ashley of flirting with married men and making guests uncomfortable. I did notice Ashley gravitating towards men, but I didn't see anything overtly inappropriate. Still, I later told Ashley to be mindful of how she interacts with married men. She does have a pick-me vibe that I realized later and am not okay with. When I asked Sam how I had hurt her, she claimed the Ashley stuff and my supposed fights with my boyfriend overshadowed her wedding. The problem? My boyfriend and I never fought. It was a completely made-up accusation. She also said I was never around not true, and she mixed up timelines. I would make it clear she didn't have a good grasp of what actually happened. I asked why she seated us so far away from her. She claimed it made the most sense. Side note, a few months before the wedding, Sam asked me to email her fiance about how unfairly his 20-year-old daughter treated her. I hesitated, feeling it wasn't my place, but she insisted. His daughter is extremely rude and was blatantly disrespectful to Sam in front of my BF and I. So defending my best friend felt more important in the moment. Turns out he thought I was overstepping, and I apologized to him immediately. I addressed everything else that hurt me, factually, but she had no real response. I acknowledged Ashley's behavior, apologized for bringing her, and took responsibility for anything that may have made guests uncomfortable, but it felt like she was using Ashley as an excuse to justify how she treated me. Instead of owning her actions, she deflected, cursed at me, yelled, and hung up on me, saying things like, "I don't have time for this shit, and either be my friend or don't. I'm not going to beg for friends." Later, she sent a short apology, ending with, "I'm the only one apologizing, and a best friend should apologize too." I blocked her after she sent me a couple of mean messages and posted passive-aggressive social media memes about toxic people, and the only people who can sit at my table are ones who've earned the right to do so. A few weeks later, she reached out to Ashley to get a hold of me and then asked to meet me for lunch. I agreed. She cried a lot. I hugged her, telling her I missed her and didn't want her to be upset. Then she half apologized with the old "I'm sorry, but your actions hurt me too" line, and she never fully took accountability. After that, I cut her out of my life and haven't spoken to her in almost 6 months. Ada for cutting Sam off. AITAH for letting my MIL call me the wrong name for a decade. My MIL and I do not get along. She on multiple occasions has given me a list of women she wished my husband would have married instead of me. She told me I needed weight loss surgery when I was pregnant. I was 5 pounds over my BMI. She has kinkles. Also, when I was pregnant, she told mutual friends she had to stay with me so I didn't screw up the baby. All fun stories for another time. I don't care to have a relationship with her, so I mostly ignore her and my husband, and I make fun of her later. Not entirely healthy, but it's how we cope. When my hubby and I were dating, we started getting serious, so we did the whole meet the parents thing. I have a very common 80s girl name. Not hard to pronounce and super easy. My husband introduced me to his parents and everything was fine. A little later, MIL calls me by the wrong name. I politely correct her. It's worth noting here my MILH, ATS, to be corrected or told she's wrong about anything. She will literally scream and start rage crying if you correct her on something and insist she is right. This is exactly what happened. She flies into a rage and screams at me that she knows my name. I'm shocked, wide eyes, mouth hanging open like a trout, and everyone else is just acting like nothing is happening since apparently this is a common occurrence. Years goes by. She continues to call me the wrong name. Everyone else calls me by the correct name. When my husband is talking to her and uses my name, she says, "Who's that?" To which my husband replies, my wife. This Thanksgiving, the in-laws come for the holiday. My 5-year-old is learning his safety info for school address, phone number, parents' names, etc. I'm quizzing my son so he can get a reward for learning the info. MIL is lurking behind us. We get to, "What's mom's name?" MIL jumps in before my son can answer and says the wrong name like she's beating him at TV trivia show. My son looks at me wide-eyed and obviously confused, but partly from the shock of his kindergarten assignment turning into a fast-paced game of Jeopardy, and partly because he knows that's not my name. I have to say something at this point, so I ignore MIL completely and tell my son, "That's not mom's name, what is it?" My son answers with the correct name. MIL spends the next couple minutes insisting she's right. My husband and I tell her she's not, and instead of exploding, she unexpectedly sulks. Later, we go over to my parents' house. As I'm setting the table, I see my MIL cornering my mom in the kitchen, grilling her about my name. Apparently, MIL was convinced we were lying to her, so she needed to verify with my mom. She insists no one told her my real name. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy Thanksgiving a little more this year, knowing that MIL thought we were running a 10-year campaign to embarrass her. My husband and I have had a lot of laughs about this for the past few months, but recently I told the story to a friend who said I was an AH for letting her call me the wrong name for a decade, then laughing at her behind her back about it. So I guess my question is AIITAH. Would I be the a-hole if I fled my husband with my kids? Throwaway account because, well, my life is embarrassing, and wouldn't be able to look the people I know in the face if they knew my truths. So me 28F and husband 27M, who we can call Kevin, married young. Him 19, me just turned 20. Husband smoked a lot of weed I don't drink, or smoke we are very opposite. I had a child from a previous partner who ran for the hills when I found out I was pregnant, and I've never seen him since. Kevin took him on at the age of 1 and has never treated him differently. I was quickly pregnant with our son and asked my husband to stop smoking weed because I didn't want it around our children. He swapped to a uke legal version called Mamba, which was way worse. I hid it from him one day, and he broke his hand punching walls until I gave it back. I was 6 months pregnant at the time. He did eventually get off GAT when our son was born when he was about 3 months old and went back to weed. My husband doesn't work due to struggles with his mental health. I work full-time. He did cheat a few times, mainly over messages, but once in person in my home when I was asleep upstairs with a close family member, I walked in on them. I chose to forgive them, hanging on to my family by my fingertips. With only one of us working and 2 kids, and my husband not participating in housework, everything fell into disarray. We decided to move in with previously mentioned family member. I didn't want to at first, but in the end it seemed to make sense. Note, I do not think they are still seeing each other. I believe it was a one-time mistake, and it's been put firmly behind us. My husband, to my knowledge, has never cheated since. Things have been steady sort of for about 8 years. Anyway, about 12 months ago, I had come to the end of my tether. My husband is very jealous and paranoid. This is probably due to the volume of weed he smokes. He would constantly make little digs and remarks if I had a bath the way I did my hair, what I wore to work, so on and so on. It even got to the point I fell into habit of a rut and stopped brushing my hair. My hygiene routine laxed. All just to avoid a snide remarks. It got to the point where before I left for work, he was checking the underwear I was wearing. I am paying for everything, and whatever support money he receives, he keeps to himself. Never treated me or the kids. I changed jobs that paid a little better and started to be able to take our family on holidays abroad, where Kevin obviously couldn't smoke weed. The first one, he drank himself stupid, took naps through the day, and basically left me and the kids and the family member to our own holiday. It came to a blows on the last night where he started headbutting the walls due to drinking too much. The second holiday, he befriended someone there who smoked. He spent the majority week with them. The last holiday, we took my FIL, gave Kevin some money to treat us all for dinner or a day out or something. He kept this money for himself, and unbeknownst to me at the time, weed is legal in this country and sold in stores, so he spent his money on that. I paid for everything, literally everything. One day, he brought me and the kids a small bottle of pop each, which he asked me to send the money back for. If he wasn't in the hotel room smoking, he was sulking, moody, generally bringing the mood down, making digs. I held his hand. He started asking why I bothered because I hadn't all day. I'd been focused on the kids and ignored him, he said. I tried to be closer, but all he wanted to do was smoke or nap. He didn't want to participate at all. When we came home and I withdrew from him, I was tired. I felt taken advantage of and worn down. We continued on. He takes the kids to school in the morning and picks them up in the evening. The previously mentioned family member then gets their tea ready. Other than that, he doesn't do anything else. Not a dish, nothing. He doesn't see it. It's his job as he's not a house husband. The jabs and belittling comments got worse. I asked him to leave. I couldn't take it anymore. He was gone a month. He swore he'd change, swore he'd quit the weed. I let him home. Things were good, but the remarks are sneaking back in the lack of housework, and any structure work that needed doing was ignored. This was because he was going through too much quitting weed. I've completely self-taught myself DE and remodeled my kitchen and living room with help from the family member. He sits in games all day and naps whilst I work 50 hours a week. Today I saw an advertisement for something my eldest son would enjoy and mentioned it in a passing comment to my sister. He announced in front of my whole family that I only think of my eldest, favor him, and never do anything for my youngest. I was hurt and humiliated. I live in breath for my kids. Everything I do is for them both. It was just categorically untrue and cruel. I just feel defeated. He's also started smoking weed again, only on occasion, but I think it's contributing to the mood swings. He always turns everything around. He can do nothing, be mean, but then act like he's the victim. That is constant. It feels like he would rather my pity or anyone's pity. He wants everyone to feel sorry for him than anything else. But if I ignore it, his mood flips up and he's mad. He will say, I'm so sorry, I'm so awful and a terrible husband in person, but it's kind of like a backhanded apology, you know? Also not exactly relevant, but more seeking an opinion. There have been times I have woken up and Kevin has started having relations with me. I stopped at the first few times, which lead to arguments or him self-pleasuring next to me whilst holding on to me, which was more uncomfortable. So more recently, I just lay there. It makes me feel uneasy and have a little cry, but is this normal? So sorry for the long ass rant. If I left again, would I be the asshole? Or should I just try and make it work? Thanks, guys.
Ata for asking my girlfriend to cut off the guy she's been sending nudes to. My ex and I were together for about a year. During that time, we briefly broke up once, and immediately after, she hung out with a guy she had told me was just a friend and lied to me about it. I only found out they had hung out because he told me, not her. We eventually got back together, and things were good for a while, but then we broke up again more recently. While we were trying to work things out, I found out she had been sending nudes back and forth with the same guy. When I confronted her, she admitted she had done the same thing last time we broke up too. After that, we went no contact for a while, but recently we started talking again, and I really wanted things to work. She promised she had blocked him and wasn't in contact with him anymore. Then, I saw on her phone that she had texted him a week ago asking for a ride, and they talked about how he had been visiting her at work. I told her that if we were going to rebuild trust, I needed her to send him a text making it clear that she was done for good and was working things out with me. She refused. She blocked him, but she wouldn't send the text. From my perspective, blocking him has never actually stopped them from reconnecting in the past, so it doesn't mean much to me now. I needed real proof that she was serious this time. I begged her to do this one thing to help me move forward with trust, and she just wouldn't. I told her this was the last straw for me, and I couldn't be in a relationship where I'm constantly worried about the same person being a factor again. She told me I was being controlling for asking her to send the message, and that she doesn't change her morals and beliefs for anyone. From my perspective, I wasn't asking her to be mean or do anything extreme, just to send a simple message closing that door permanently to show me she was serious about us. So, Ida for asking her to text him and officially cut ties. Almost 13 years ago, my then wife had an affair with a coworker. She came clean to me about a few one-night stands she had with him after the fact. At that time, we had our 2 children. Our son was about to be 6 and our daughter was only 3. I left her outright and refused to entertain any form of reconciliation. I was partially vindicated when she went back to her coworker and started a relationship with him. I will never respect this man and hate him to this day. At the very least, he isn't a drunk or some abuser as far as I can tell. The only issue I have with him is the obvious cheating and his poor financial habits. Her health situation worsened, and during 2016, she had discovered her cancer. I'll give this guy credit, he stuck around and took care of her all the way to the end. But deep down, some part of me is counting down the days until he finds another woman to be involved with. She passed last year due to complications, and I had to listen to the drivel of her being such a good person and outstanding mother. I don't agree. She wasn't infallible, nor was she such a morally good individual, but they can choose to believe what they want. The anniversary of her passing is in a few months, and her parents, my children / the other man want to do a custom headstone to replace the more generic one on her plot. Her parents are retired, and as such have limited funds, and my children are still in college high school, so it was assumed that he would pick up the tab. Turns out that he blew his money on impulse purchases, and I had to step in to actually pay the people doing this job. I confronted him and called him a scatterbrain and a disappointment. I don't understand how someone uses the money for their dead on whatever the hell he used it for. Now he's apparently sad and feeling remorseful according to my children, but I am not apologizing to this guy. He's really starting to irritate me with this, but maybe I went too far. Found out my wife monitors parts of my life behind my back. I'm having trouble getting past this. TLDR, I've known for a while that my wife monitors some aspects of my life behind my back, and it was a joke for a while, but recently she accidentally revealed that she's monitoring more than what she let on and that she tried to keep it secret from me. Longer version. We've been married for 18 years, 2 kids. She's an accountant and is much better with monitoring our bank accounts than me. So when I learned that she would get notifications about my spending on the credit card, it was no big deal since we've been hacked before and want to prevent unauthorized spending. She would make comments about where I had stopped for lunch, for example, which I eventually realized she knew because she got some kind of notification about my spending. No huge deal, and probably a good thing. I wish she had let me know she was doing this in a different way, but whatever. Our daughter is 17, and when she started driving last year, my wife put a tracking app on our daughter's phone without our daughter knowing to know where she is. I was a bit uneasy about it. So my wife and I have had conversations about the ethics of that and decided it's a necessary evil since we're dealing with a teenager. We decided not to tell her. Fast forwarding to last week, I learned that my wife at some point gave herself automatic access to the photos on my phone and never told me. In the past, if I had been taking pictures at a family event or something, she would ask if she could borrow my phone afterward to send the pictures to herself. I have no problem with that and would hand it over. I don't password protect my phone and have no concerns about her seeing anything on it, though I think it's common decency to ask first. I've never needed her phone for anything, but if I did, I would ask permission first. While I was traveling for work last week, she asked me to take a bunch of pictures to send to her niece as part of a school project, which I did. The day after I got back home, I said something about how I needed to send those pictures to my wife's sister, and my wife said I already did. I did a double take and said, "When did you borrow my phone?" since she hadn't asked. I figured she would say something like while you were showering or something, which would be annoying but not terrible. However, she immediately got cagey and embarrassed, with a look that made it obvious that she knew she had said something she shouldn't have said. I asked her if she has automatic access to my photos somehow, and she admitted that she did. I asked how, and she said that a while ago she went into my phone and gave herself access to my Google Photos account. She apologized and said she knew she should have asked for permission but didn't. I asked what else she gave herself access to, and she promised she hadn't done anything else. We had some arguments about the ethics of that, with her continually making the case that it's more efficient that way instead of borrowing my phone, and my continually telling her that she was missing the point, that it was an invasion of my privacy to do so without my permission, and to then hide it from me. Since then, I've really had my trust shaken. This kind of thing has happened before, where she would do something sneaky behind my back, only to backtrack, make excuses, or simply apologize when I found out. I've started trying to figure out if she's doing other things to track and monitor me. I'm torn between the feeling that I have nothing to hide and that it's not a big deal versus feeling that she's violating my trust. How significant is this? Update between writing that original post and now, I found the email showing that she had turned on automatic sharing of photos on Halloween. While I think I'm pretty good at a lot of things, keeping on top of many email accounts is not one of my strengths, which she knows. I then remember that several times since then she has asked me for my phone like she normally does to send herself pictures that I had taken. On Christmas morning, for example, she asked for my phone to text herself pictures. I couldn't make sense of why she would do that if she already had access, and it finally dawned on me that she had done that to keep me in the dark. I confronted her just now about the whole situation, but held off on reminding her of that last detail. She claimed that 1. Our daughter knows about the Life 360 app and that my wife can track her location. I'll verify later when I see her. 2. She said that she knew she shouldn't have given herself access to my pictures, that she knew it was wrong, and that she should have told me. She claimed there's nothing else she's hiding from me. I told her that she had been doing more than that she had been intentionally misleading me about what was going on. She acted like she had no idea what I was talking about and kept playing dumb for a while. As soon as I said on Christmas Day, she said, I know. She admitted that she had done that to keep me from realizing she had access, but that she didn't think the time was right on Christmas to tell me the truth. To me, that's a deliberate and calculated lie. Some lies are little white lies meant to protect someone's feelings. Some lies are lies of omission, where someone fails to tell the whole truth. This was an orchestrated and successful act of continued deception where the only purpose was to further her dishonesty. She immediately knew what I was talking about and admitted it and said she felt like she had gone too far and had to keep lying. I told her that if she had just asked for permission to access my photos account in TG First Place, I would have given it to her, so I couldn't understand why all the elaborate lying. She said she had no excuse. I walked out and drove away. That's where we stand now.
AITA for refusing to speak to my ex-fiancé before he died? All right, I dated my ex Nico, 33M, for 5 years. From 18 to 23, we were engaged, living together, and planning our future. I was pregnant, and I thought we had a great relationship. We sometimes had our ups and downs, but I never saw coming what happened. Basically, I discovered he was cheating on me a month before the wedding. He cheated on me with one of my closest friends, and some of my friends knew and didn't tell me. One finally broke down and decided to tell me everything. Needless to say, I was not only devastated, but angry and confused. I couldn't manage to understand the situation, and I was so overwhelmed because I didn't know how to even begin to deal with the situation. But I understood that the healthiest for me choice was to just disappear and start over somewhere else. And that's what I did. I blocked him and the friends that knew and didn't tell me, even the one that had told me, because she had kept it from me for over 2 months, and I didn't trust her. I deleted my social media, changed my number, and canceled all the wedding stuff behind his back. I also took all our money from our saving account and sold the ring. All the stress caused me to have a miscarriage, and no one knew about this because I had gone back to my hometown and was staying at a hotel. I literally didn't tell anyone I was leaving, but I did tell one of my former friends that he should tell Nico I had a miscarriage. I have no family, and back then, I knew I couldn't trust the people I called friends, so I chose to just keep everything to myself. I spent over a year traveling around Europe and Asia, and I finally settled in Ireland, since I have the nationality thanks to my dad. I'm from South America, to clarify. I still had money, thanks to my inheritance, and I bought a small apartment for myself and started working. I surrounded myself with some good new friends, started therapy, and I had multiple casual relationships, but it wasn't until I met Alex, 31M, who's also from my country, that I fell in love again. I met him when I was 27, and it took me a while to trust him, but we eventually got serious. We got married last year, and early this year we moved back to our country. So I started using social media eventually. My former friends and ex hadn't found out about it at first, but one of them eventually did, and they started sending me thousands of texts, especially my ex, who kept asking for us to have a simple talk, that he still loved me, that he regretted everything and hadn't been able to move on. This happened 3 years ago, and I chose to send one text to my ex telling him that I didn't hate him or resented him, but that he was just a part of my past, and as he knew, for me, the past needs to stay buried. I once wanted to be with him for the rest of my life, but right now I'm aware of the fact that he was not who I thought he was, and although our relationship taught me that people are not who they seem to be and I shouldn't trust people so easily, for me, I wasted many years of my youth with him, and that was just it. I told him I was in love with someone else and not to try to talk to me again, because he would never see my face again on purpose, and that was the end of it. After that, I blocked them all and put my account on private. Now, back to the present, I reconnected with one of my friends from the past, Melissa. She didn't know about the affair, and she lost contact with our former group of friends because she didn't trust them because of what they did to me. She told me she had tried to contact me but had no idea how to do it. Although she's not friends with everybody else before, she's still friends with one of Nico's cousins, who was never close with him, but that had always been pretty sad. From her, she found out that Nico was sick with cancer and wanted to speak to me. She told me, according to Nico's cousin, he had no chance of making it, and he just wanted to speak to me. Melissa told me to do whatever felt right, and so did my husband, and I agreed. I decided not to speak to him and just told Melissa she should tell Nico's cousin that I didn't want to speak to Nico. My reason is simple for this. I put everything in the past. I healed from all that situation. It was hard, but I did. I don't need closure, and I know I don't owe him anything. I have no feelings toward him. So I recently found out from Melissa that Nico passed away. Now his family is furious at me. They can't get to my social media accounts, but they got to my husband's. They told him that I was just a bitter bitch that couldn't even grant the wish of a dying man of just speaking to me, telling me that's all he wanted. Alex just blocked all those accounts and put his account in private for a while and told me not to let them get to me, that I did nothing wrong, although I truly didn't wish to speak with Nico, didn't have anything to say to him, and didn't want to hear anything from him either. I've begun to wonder if I should have just listened to what he had to say, just so that he would go without holding anything. But I don't know if I truly think that, or if I have just let the creeps of his family get to me. I don't know. AITA?